I've come to believe we do need some active management out there on the landscape. If the forest is homogeneous, the fires do have an easier time burning more severely in those cases. We do need the timber industry to make our forests more resilient.
If there are lots of trees on the landscape, we can go in and thin those trees to an appropriate spacing where the forest can handle regular intervals of fire and can handle insect and disease coming through, and it can be resilient to all those things. So when fire does come through, it behaves like it did here. It behaved in a way that was safe for the firefighters. They could manage this fire, and it's actually beneficial for the landscape. When we leave here, the forest that's left is higher value than when we found it. And then we can take those byproducts to the marketplace, and we're able to carve out a nice business in a rural community. We did some treatment, and that created small logs, which we put on a truck and shipped to the mill. Once we get it to the mill, we turn them into 2x4s. The byproduct of that activity is chips, sawdust, shavings, and bark. Those products all have a destination, whether that be chipwood to go to the pulp and paper plant or biomass to go to the power facilities. All kinds of wood products that you don't think about every day, but they come from these small diameter trees that come from treatments like here at this forest. I think some of our biggest allies now are environmentalists.
We used to protest against old-growth logging. I've come around to believing that we do need the timber industry and the infrastructure. And there's evidence that thinning followed by prescribed fire, which can be controlled, definitely results in less severe fires. When I talk to people who are very concerned about any tree cutting in the national forest, they've seen the big clear cuts of the past, they've been convinced that logging is bad, and I emphasize we're not thinning every acre of the forest. We're going to focus on the areas that might burn the hottest. We're going to focus on the areas closer to communities. We're going to focus on areas that maybe have a lot of root disease. There does need to be a coming together of conservationists and business interests to figure out how can we provide a little more certainty, decide what is our long-term plan, what's our 20-year plan for this forest. If we believe that a third of the forest is desperately in need of some thinning and burning, how are we going to do that if we only do a few thousand acres a year? So if a question was made, what is the right thing to do out in our forests, our public forests? I would say the right thing is to apply science, utilize a timber industry that can take small diameter trees, take strict conservation measures, and get to work on a landscape level of restoring our forests.